Welcome to the wealthmanagement.com Fast Chat on succession planning. I'm Maureen Wilkie with Wilkie & Associates, and joining me today is Todd Folks, JD and Senior Vice President of Succession Planning and Business Acquisition for the Advisor Group. Succession planning is top of mind right now with financial advisors, and Todd brings an in-depth background on mergers and acquisitions and succession planning. And today he's going to share some strategies to help you have a smooth transition. Todd, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Maureen.
Todd, what are two of the biggest challenges facing financial advisors with succession planning right now?
Well, what we hear most from financial professionals, first and foremost, is finding the right successor is really the top priority. And not just finding the right successor for that financial professional, but more importantly, finding the right successor for that financial professional's clients. That's what we hear the most. And then secondly, is we hear on a regular basis that financial professionals are in dire need of guidance through the succession planning process from beginning to end.
That makes complete sense. And what about the projection for sellers and buyers? Can you share anything in that area?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've all heard that there are many more buyers per seller, but we've also had several people theorize that at some point that tide may turn with the demographics that we have in our industry, and we may end up with more sellers than buyers at some point. So we see more and more sellers coming onto the market. We literally do hundreds of deals for these sellers every single year. We've begun to see indications that that tide may actually be turning right before us. So it'll be interesting to see in the next few years how this plays out. But the other thing is when you think about that pool of buyers out there that sellers look to, you have to not only think how large it is, but how qualified it is. And that's really the second step in the progression that we really look at.
So in sharing that finding the right successor is the biggest challenge, as we know for the financial advisors, finding the right successor, what are they looking for? Like what should be a few things they should be looking for as they explore successor options?
What we hear on a regular basis is they're looking for someone who is ethical, responsible, and trustworthy. So you have to think they want someone who can take care of their clients as well as, if not better, than they have themselves. They will continue inevitably to see these clients, their clients around town. They'll see them at church. They'll see them at the grocery store. They'll see them at the gym. So they want to make sure that when they make that handoff, they've handed those people off to the right person. They know their friends. They're not just clients, they're friends. They know their family, they know their children. Oftentimes they know their grandchildren. So they really want to make sure that as they retire themselves, they're doing so with peace of mind that number one, they have a legacy that will continue, and number two, that their clients are taken care of.
That is a great point. It doesn't just end when they hand over the business or they obviously move to their next phase in their life. The research shows and I loved the research, there's important details on the 10 pieces of the puzzle for a succession plan. Felt that was mapped out really well. Can you provide an overview of what it takes to put together like a really successful succession plan?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll give you the Cliff's Notes version here.
Thank you.
But there are many moving parts and there are multiple phases as we discuss. We talk about a succession planning continuum on a regular basis. So obviously you have to find that right person or people at the right team as a successor or successors. Most of the deals that we put together have an objective valuation, a formal valuation done. But it's also important to recognize that the valuation that we see done doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the purchase price. There is negotiation that comes into that. There's the deal structuring itself, and that really means the vehicle by which the terms will be put together with. So those two things have a dramatic impact on what ultimately is the purchase price. And then obviously you have to keep in mind the legal and tax ramifications, the funding mechanism, whether it's seller funded, whether it's bank funded, whether it's a combination or whether financial professionals have at their firm access to capital internally, or there's some augmentation of or combination of all of those. And then finally, there's the transition piece. And the transition piece really happens in two different manners. Number one, it's the back office piece, which is literally moving the accounts from a seller to a buyer. And in a business that has multiple different revenue streams and different mechanisms by which to move those revenue streams and different regulators for those revenue streams too, that in and of itself can be a challenge. And then you also have the client-facing piece. So how do you choreograph and put together a seamless transition from the client-facing piece to make sure that that succession plan is successful? And then ultimately having someone who can guide both a seller and a buyer through that entire process is usually a skill set in and of itself. So that's both on the mechanical side and also the emotional side.
And I know we talked about this, you do that a lot with your clients and your advisors. The 10 pieces is just such, the puzzle are just such good information for any advisors, and you'll see that on the white paper that you can download here. But if you could just summarize the approach, like to kind of close out our fast chat today, what should advisors do? What should they take? Any steps specific as they put their plan together?
Well, I hope this fast chat didn't scare too many people. I will tell you that there is a silver lining, and that's really if you start early and you have access to the proper resources, then putting together a succession plan can be a lot easier than you think and really a lot more rewarding than you think.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us for today's Fast Chat, Todd. And Todd and the advisor group succession and acquisition team assist their advisors with end-to-end succession and acquisition solutions. Also, you'll see you can download the white paper right here on our Fast Chat today. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us and look forward to our next Fast Chat. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, Maureen.